So stare across for nowhere, and drop the anchor, my little
All right, hey guys, welcome to the show where we completely have our shit together.
Speak for yourself.
Welcome to Internet. We're a Course for Nowhere. I am your host, the media Nomad, and with me, as always, is
DJ Kyber.
DJ Kyber.
Hey. So,
We weren't just pounding on the table for 5 minutes to see what it sounded like on the microphone or anything.
No, don't. Why would you ever imagine that? Don't imagine.
That's not a thing we do.
No.
We're professional right here.
So, we just watched another season of Black Mirror, which is absolutely... It's a great show. It really is a modern-day Twilight show.
Twilight Zone.
Twilight Zone. My bad. Better than the Forrest Whitaker one, which I've only seen a little bit of that one. It just didn't have the same impact as the Rod Serling.
I'll have to go back and rewatch it because I think it came out when I was 12.
Yeah.
And I only 12 or 13. I want to say 13. I want to say when it came out, and I only remember 2 episodes. One was the one where there's the little neighborhood where problem children were mulched and trees were planted, and trees were planted over where they left the remains. And then there's the other one where the guy gets involved in a relationship with a computer program lady, and then his wife finds out, but at the end you find out the wife is also banging the computer lady.
I have not seen that one, but I saw the one called The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street, which
was that a remake of the Twilight Zone original?
Yeah.
Okay.
So in the original one,
that's one of my favorite episodes of the original.
Yeah, in the original one, it was very... It was sort of a, Red Scare type of thing. They, but, in a more science fiction-y sense, because what happened was all of a sudden the power went out, and then the power came on, and everyone was like, oh god, it's aliens! And other people are like, no, let's keep our heads clear about this. It probably isn't that bad. Mm-hmm. But they were like, no, it's aliens. And
Greg spends all day tinkering with those radios in his basement.
And so then the neighborhood tears itself apart, being incredibly paranoid. And in the remake, similar to that, all the lights turn off, except also now all the lights explode and all the windows shatter. Because
why bother with subtlety?
Yeah. Exactly. And so, and then this one house, their lights turn on, and everyone's like, oh god, they're terrorists. Because keep in mind, this was 2002. Or late 2001, early 2002, something like that. So what was on everyone's mind? Terrorists. So they were like, oh, they're terrorists. We need to kill them before they can Al-Qaeda us. Or whatever.
Al-Qaeda as a verb.
Yes, and so and then there was the guy who was like, "No, let's just keep our heads calm. Otherwise, the terrorists win." And the other guy was like, "No, the terrorists are gonna win unless we kill them." So then they terrorists.
It's funny because every big paranoia has a throwback to the last one.
Right.
So in the early 2000s, after 9/11, they put out the film Good Night and Good Luck, which is one of my all-time favorite films about Edward R. Murrow taking on McCarthyism during the Red Scare, which, because it came out in the 2000s, was an allegory towards paranoia, towards terrorism. So it was an allegory for it was using the Red Scare as an allegory. But then if you go back to the time of the Red Scare, you have Arthur Miller's Crucible, which is about the Salem witch trials, which is about the last big bout of paranoia. Yeah. So in 30, 40 years, we're gonna have another round of paranoia. But it's going to be about right now. It's going to be a period piece about now, to act as a parable for the next round of paranoia.
Yeah, you think during the Salem witch trials they started drawing parallels between that and the Spanish Inquisition?
Maybe.
Who knows? So, anyways, though, what happens though at the big reveal at the end of these ones? In the original one, it was aliens, but they were just turning on and off the lights. Just to see what would happen. They're just fucking
with them.
Yeah,
they're like, if we can just fuck with their lights, they'll wreck themselves. This is great.
Yeah, they're like, you know what? We don't even need to invade them. We don't need to use guns or anything. We just turn the lights on and off. It's great. They'll kill each other. And that one was actually pretty impactful. This new one, turns out it's the government. They wanted to see how people would react in cases of a perceived paranoia or in a perceived terrorist attack. And they were like, this is bad. So far, this is how every neighborhood we've done this experiment on has reacted. If we keep doing this, the terrorists win. Or something like that. If they keep acting like this, the terrorists will win.
All right, this is getting close to politics, and the last thing we need is me espousing about politics on our weird, goofy web show.
Should we just basically cover the surface of what you wanted to talk about so we don't get any deeper?
Well, think of it is, I like to stay very politically aware. I follow a bunch of different news outlets. I watch the debates. Well, I try to get through most of the debates.
I enjoy watching Jeb Bush and Trump attack each other, since Jeb Bush's political career has now devolved into just him trash-talking
Trump,
and it's kind of fun.
Oh my god, if we get on Trump, I don't want to give Trump any more airtime anywhere.
Okay.
The only reason he exists as he does right now is because he's so ridiculous that every news outlet covers everything he says. And then that gets him momentum, so it just kind of keeps him there. So he knows he just needs to keep getting more and more outrageous, and that will keep him in the spotlight. So
I know someone recently. I went over to their place for Christmas. It's not you. It's no one you know. I'm not going to say who they are, though. Just out of courtesy.
Is it Buzz?
No.
Okay.
No. It's someone older than us. That's all I'll say. She... somehow we got onto the debate of politics. I think she was the one who brought it up. She said something like, Trump is... if I could vote right now, I would vote for Trump in a heartbeat. And
Is it your grandma?
No.
Okay.
And then my dad said, well, he's trying to get Muslims to wear badges. And it's sort of like Nazi Germany style. And then she said, oh, I didn't know that. Well, you know what? Maybe that's not so bad. Maybe it would be okay for a little while if they did that. And I just never saw that side of her. So it was a little bit jarring to hear that out of someone's mouth.
The thing is, I don't blame Trump for being an asshole.
No.
I'm not excusing his behavior is by no means excusable. But when Trump is an asshole, he's one person being an asshole. When thousands of people across the country join up behind him, then we become a nation of assholes, and that's where the real terrifying shit is.
See, that's actually the thing. When I saw that the parts of the GOP debate when Jeb started trash talking Trump, everyone was cheering, and then Trump shot back like, America can never be great if he is in the White House. And then everyone booed him. I was like, are these people just not at the polls?
I didn't make it that far. At Cards on the Table, no, I had to quit because I want to say it was Ted Cruz.
Oh, Ted
Cruz, where he, was either Cruz or Huckabee, talked about how they wanted to just nuke the entire Middle East. I think they said they want to drop so many bombs that they want to see if sand can glow.
So they want to turn it into Chernobyl. Yep.
Right, that's terrifying. Because there are way more innocent people over there than there are people doing harm over there. And they said, well, what if you this is like carpet bomb the whole thing? And thankfully the moderator said, would you bomb civilian areas? He says, we'll bomb where ISIS is. But that doesn't answer the question. Or carpet bomb where ISIS is. The thing is, carpet bombing is just obliterating everything.
Right.
That's not like a tactical strike. That's just scorched earth, and people cheered him.
So
let's segue this into the 6th episode of Black Mirror.
Yeah.
Because that's a political episode. A little bit more in vain with Stephen Colbert, though. Like Stephen Colbert with Jon Stewart. political theater type things. Because let's not have me talk about any more actual politics, because this will turn to a very different show.
Yeah. Sorry, everyone.
So anyway, crux of the show
I
is...
respect all opinions, just not the really radical kinds. Especially not if you want to make... Sorry, I'll... not gonna talk about Trump anymore.
Let's just make some dick jokes.
Yeah. Why did the chicken cross the road? Because his dick was stuck in the other chicken. I heard that from a stupid Street Fighter show. No, wait.
What Street Fighter were you watching?
You never heard of Johnny Utah? Or...
Oh, okay.
Okay,
yep.
yeah.
I thought it was like, I'm just imagining right now, like, in an arcade cabinet, just Guile being up there like, hey, kid.
Hey,
Because of course Guile's going to be the one who tells that joke.
No, it was Alex.
Which one was Alex?
Street Fighter 3.
Okay.
Since Street Fighter 3 decided it would be like Street Fighter, the next generation.
Because they had like almost none of the same characters as the most popular one in the franchise.
Right.
And then they've just kept it to the same, like, 7 characters with a few more ever since.
Right, and it took place about 5 years after Street Fighter 2, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, it was, and then all of a sudden a bunch of other fighting games started following suit. Well, shouldn't say a bunch, but 2 others did. Garou, Mark of the Wolf, that was Fatal Fury's Street Fighter 3. And then Mortal Kombat X, which just came out recently, so they were about, like, 15 years too late. Or not 15, like 17 years too late. But, hey, it takes place about 20 years after the original Mortal Kombat.
Mortal Kombat!
Dun, 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 dun.
I think Soul Calibur did that.
Yeah,
Where they jumped ahead, and now it's like the kids of the characters in the last game, and like I can still play as Mitsurugi, but he's old Mitsurugi.
I like Mitsurugi.
Mitsurugi's the... You know what? That series has kind of gone downhill since Soul Calibur 2.
That's the only one I've ever owned.
Oh my god, I played the shit out of Soul Calibur 2, and then I
which
was
one?
GameCube.
Ah, yes.
I love Zelda. I gotta play the one with Link.
Yeah, I heard. Spawn is good but overpowered. Heihachi is just kind of dull because he uses his fists. But I mean, Link is just awesome.
So anyway, getting back to the actual topic of our show.
My bad. Black Mirror, go.
So the crux of the episode is there's a guy who does a little like CGI bear, and he talks over it, and he just says his terrible things, and he can like animate it to have like a little weird, like he can animate it to do all these obscene things, and he has it say all these terrible things. He's just sitting in a little control booth manipulating it, and as a gag, they write him in as a candidate for prime minister.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then and everything spirals out of control from there.
Right. So the guy who controls the bear, voices the bear, and everything, improvs as the bear, as Waldo. The guy who essentially is Waldo. He is actually sort of a pretty rational person, and he doesn't. I don't know how to explain like his relationship with Waldo. He does it as a job because he can't get a better job. As an actor,
which is interesting because you think anybody would love to have the job where they're just saying terrible things behind the face of a cartoon bear. Right. I would take that job. Would you take that job?
Yeah, but
someone offered you that job. Yeah,
but I don't think I'd be very funny. Whereas this guy,
we're not funny.
Right.
We are not funny people.
He would make really good dick jokes. I would be like, so
his dick jokes are just like 8 inches beyond anything we could hope to achieve.
8 inches. My mind went very bad place there.
I think it was meant to.
Yeah.
It's a dick joke.
So this is England. You guys have food called spotted dick. Ha ha ha. Ha.
Yep, that's the extent that we would.
Yeah. I would probably make more spotted dick jokes than actual dick jokes.
I think we make more allusions to dick jokes than actual dick jokes.
Right. So, anyways, Waldo is the guy who plays as Waldo. He also didn't he have some sort of like anxiety problem or something? Because in the very beginning, we see him like in the bathroom or something talking to someone.
I think he's just stressed out.
Yeah. So And then he meets one of the politicians.
He meets an actual politician, a woman, and then they wind up hooking up.
Yeah, there's two politicians. There's the one who's, I guess, supposed to be the Tony Blair...
Right, Monroe. They call him Monroe in the show.
Yeah, he is a...
He's this hyper-conservative prick.
Right, and he was the prime minister for the last 4 years or whatever. And a lot of people voted for him. It seems like a lot of people are gonna vote for him, but everyone likes taking the piss out of him, as they say across the pond.
You know what? I've actually incorporated taking the piss into my regular vocabulary because there's no really good American equivalent to taking the piss.
Right. Yeah, I don't mind using that one. When people say bloody though, in the British way, and they say it with an American accent, I have a close friend who does say that all the time, and I just sort of cringe when he does
I feel like if you're saying it in a British accent, you're forcing it. If you say it in the American accent, it's more natural. You're not trying to. It
doesn't feel natural when he says
I will occasionally drop a bloody and not realize it. Bloody and bullocks have also worked their way into my vocabulary.
Okay, if you can make it feel natural, that's all right. Like, I've heard people use Melvin, which is like a grade school insult. I've heard grown men use that, and it felt natural. Just sounded natural. Like, oh, shut up, Melvin. And then I'm like, oh, I didn't even think twice until I was thinking back to that conversation. I was like, oh, he said Melvin. No. So anyways.
Yeah. So I actually think this episode is probably the weakest in the series.
Would it be? Yeah, okay.
Granted, the weakest episode in a series as strong as Black Mirror is still a lot farther ahead of pretty much anything else out there. Yeah. It's still, if you're the worst episode of Black Mirror, you're still much better than about 80% of anything on television.
So the reason why, I think I actually would agree with you on this, because the Black Mirror's whole thing is about technology. And this seems like the only one that just the technology is almost superfluous. Like, as long as you can just have some sort of avatar for speaking out. Like, you could have just had him be Stephen Colbert. Stephen Colbert, apparently the way he acts on stage and the way he acts off stage is different.
Well, it's a caricature. Well, I think a big part of making it a simulation was the fact that by the end of the episode, he's had enough and he actually rejects the character. But somebody else jumps in, and by then people are so immersed with the caricature that they actually reject the actor playing him.
Right. And then they're like, we don't care about the guy voicing Waldo, we care about Waldo. And
because he's in a van and he's out, like, because they actually, I do love this bit where they hooked up a van with all the gadgetry inside, and the side of the van was just a giant screen.
Yeah.
So the guy would drive around, so they would drive around, and he'd be in the van doing all this shit, and he would just like follow his political opponents around and
Mr.
call
Monroe.
them cocks. He just called them cocks for
it was just Monroe.
It was just Monroe. And he would just call him. He would just yell obscene things at them until eventually, he has enough of it, and he runs out of the van saying, "It's me. I'm Waldo. I'm telling you not to vote for Waldo because this is stupid. You can't vote for a cartoon bear." And his producer jumps into the seat and says, "Don't listen to this asshole. Dicks.
I'll give 300 quid to whoever can throw their shoe at his face. Whoever punches it lights out."
Right, and then it's just this idea that the creation completely running away from the creator.
Right. So we didn't talk about the other candidate. The other candidate is
it's a woman. She's from she's basically running to get it in her highlight reel. She knows she has no chance to win.
Right, but she knows that if she runs, it doesn't matter whether she wins or loses. It's just that people will be like, "Oh yeah, you ran. You did a great campaign."
She's anticipating a loss just so she can put it in her highlight reel.
Right.
Which she opens up to the guy who plays Waldo. Because they spend the night together, she opens up to him, and then there's a point where the guy playing Waldo, he's actually at a debate, like a hardcore debate,
right? And
he just loses his shit and says, "You know why she's here? She's just here for her highlight reel. She doesn't expect to win, and you're just going to vote for this asshole again," and just tears through everyone and has a breakdown.
That is actually a beautiful scene, I think.
Which goes back to what I said. You can be the worst episode of Black Mirror, and you're still much better than almost anything else on television.
Yeah, that... So, and then at the end, I thought the end was very tragic, and a little bit almost forced tragedy.
A little bit, it was kind of predictable, where we saw where this arc was going. We got some we got some drama out of it, but it's kind of... We're already aware of this idea of, the caricature, the figurehead getting out of control, the joke politician. People have been writing in fake joke politicians for as long as there's been the ability to vote.
Yeah, Mickey Mouse has been in every poll since, I don't know, probably since like the 70s. But I know he makes it into every poll. Like, do you vote for George W. Bush? Do you vote for John Kerry? Or do you vote for Mickey Mouse?
Yeah, so it's an idea we've seen before, and by the end...
D's Nuts, that's actually a
D's Nuts was actually polling ahead of most of the legit candidates in the States for a while.
Yeah. But,
Well, I know in England, they actually have a law where you're only allowed to start campaigning a few months before the election.
Oh.
And to them, it blows their minds that we have like a 2-year... that we'll start seeing things trickle in about 2 years before an election.
But then again, we're also bigger than they are, and we won the war.
We won all the... Except we kind of 1812. I'm going to give you guys that one.
Okay.
You in Canada, man. I'm going to give you guys that one.
Yeah, although we did win the French-Canadian War, which is why it's kind of weird. The Canadian-Indian War?
French and Indian War.
French and Indian War. We won that one, which is why it's kind of weird that they named it after the losers. But hey, I mean, sorry, guys. You're still great, Canada.
We love you, Canada.
Yeah. Keep your Degrassi and Drake and Justin Bieber's to yourself. Carly Rae Jepsen is okay in short little tiny bursts.
You gave us Deadpool, though. So you gave us Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah. Wolverine.
And Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey's Canadian.
Jim Carrey's Canadian. Actually, yeah.
Oh, and Colin Mockery. And
lots of good things come out of Canada.
And Nathan Fillion. True.
Yeah, right.
True.
And you know what? Even the bad stuff... And Rush, I think the only bad thing to come out of Canada is Rob Ford.
Rob Ford?
He's the mayor of Toronto. Ooh. And they're like, have you not heard of this?
I've heard of Trudeau.
They've, they found records of him just, doing coke while in office, and he's still in office. Oh my god, no, look him up. We'll look him up later. This guy has both been accused of and gotten away with is spectacular.
I could draw another parallel to this, but since I want you to watch United Passions blind, okay. I won't say anything. In fact, I may have said too much.
I don't think you've ever mentioned United Passions before.
Me?
No, you've never mentioned that show before.
Movie. Well, that's because every review of it I've seen has put it into context. It's like, I don't like this movie because... Then they explain something that was not in the movie. But then, I'm just curious, since you don't know much about what it is or anything like that, and do you pay attention to FIFA or anything?
No.
No? Yeah.
No, you did mention this. This was the soccer thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I just want you to...
I know about the sports with the kicking of the ball.
FIFA, isn't that a video game?
Yeah, I know nothing about sports. I know laughable little about sports.
That's why I want you to watch this, because everyone I know, every review I've seen of United Passions puts it in context. If you watch it, you have no context whatsoever, and I'm curious, is this movie bad?
I am the virgin snow.
It's got
for this movie's yellow trickle.
Right. It has Tim Roth in it. I'm thinking, how bad could it be? It has Mr. Orange in it. Mr. Orange.
Well, the Left Behind remake managed to suck, and it had Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, I know. But...
How do you make Nicolas Cage boring? How? How?
Well, apparently The Last Witch Hunter, or whatever it was called. No, it wasn't The Last Witch Hunter. That was a Vin Diesel movie. It was some sort of witch hunter thing. It had Ron Perlman and Nicolas Cage in it, and for once, Nicolas Cage was the sane one. Ron Perlman was crazy.
Ron Perlman plays a lot of crazy.
It was so good, except he was
Ron
less...
Perlman, you glorious bastard, we love you.
Yes. Also, I'm so happy I got to see you in 3-2-1 Frankie Go Boom. He played a transgender.
Oh God,
he was glorious.
Well, the thing is, I'm trying to imagine those just like chiseled, because we love you, Ron Perlman. And, like, part of your appeal is like you look like you were just chiseled out of granite and then granted life by some immortal being.
Right. So his name was Phyllis.
Okay, I'm imagining Ron Perlman in a dress right now.
In a dress with I don't know if it was a wig or if it was his actual hair, but it was like bobbed. Really, it looked good, and he was wearing makeup, and he had a bit of a lisp, and he was like, "Hello, sweetie."
Oh God, I need to see this.
He was talking to Chris O'Dowd and Charlie Hunnam. It is so good.
I need to see this.
It is. Oh my God, it is fantastic. So I'll talk about that one later.
Right.
First, Black Mirror.
So Black Mirror. God damn it, we need a babysitter.
We really do. We'll have to do 3-2-1 Frankie Go Boom later.
Right, we need a babysitter or shot callers or both. The soundtrack. Anyway, yeah, there's not really much to say about the Waldo episode though.
Yeah, so so the reason why he betrays this one lady he slept with was because he really liked her, and then when her campaign started picking up, she didn't have time for him, and he took this to mean like, oh, I was only in for this for a booty call. This was just a one night stand. And so he got.
Oh my God! Do it again. Say booty call the British accent again.
Booty call.
I'm making that my ringtone.
So he got upset because he thought she was just using him. So that's probably where his downfall started.
It's
when he decided to betray her, and
it wasn't even like a calculated thing though. It was kind of just everything came to it. He just kind of realized the complete absurdity of his situation, and then it hurt him. So he just felt he was acting out.
Right.
It was the only way he had to hurt anyone up there on stage.
Right.
And it was the wrong thing to do. But it was not a calculated thing. It was not, if this guy says this thing, I could say this thing, and I could take them all down. He was upset. He was disillusioned by the whole thing. He was sick of the character. He's sick of all the dumb politic bullshit. And then he just happened to get pushed over the line, and then he just wanted to lash out in the most hurtful way he could.
Yeah, and then, in a scene after that, when he actually sees her one-on-one for the first time, since that incident, not as Waldo, but as himself, she yells at him. She was like, I would have called you after this. I would have called you after the campaign was over, but I'm really busy. And now you've ruined my career. And then he felt really bad, and I was like, oh, take it back. You belong together.
No, because he did a shitty thing.
He did a shitty thing. He did.
No, that's like you know what? If you end somebody's entire political career as a cartoon bear, you have burned that bridge.
No, what I meant was take it back as Waldo. Like
you can't Waldo can't take things back.
Yeah,
he's a cartoon.
Right, but I don't know. I'm a hopeless romantic when it comes to things like this. That's why I have trouble with dating sims like Honey Pop, where you're supposed to screw every girl. I'm like, but I screwed this one girl. Yes,
you're the only one I know.
Shamefully admit this. I enjoy the Bejeweled sex simulator. Bejeweled. That's what it is. I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed. I met the Indian chick. She was super nice to me, and then I went on a bunch of dates with her, and then I slept with her, and I was like, I want to marry this girl. How do I do that in this game? And it's like, you can't do that. What you're just supposed to do is supposed to sleep with everyone else. And I was like, no.
You know what? At least you could be monogamous when I bought you Hatoful Boyfriend.
Yes.
Which is a dating sim where you play a girl at a high school that's populated entirely by pigeons, and you have to decide which pigeon you want to date.
and it ended so tragically for me because of the library. The library pigeon. He was so sweet. He was so sensitive. He was like super shy.
He's
and
the
I was
fanciest pigeon of them all.
yeah. Was he the fancy one? No, the fancy one was like the aristocrat one. I was like, screw that guy. This guy is sensitive. See, I'm a hopeless romantic when it comes to these things. So I was kind of hoping that the guy who voiced Waldo would somehow make things right.
No, it's Black Mirror.
Yeah, I know.
People
it's
don't make
Black
things
Mirror.
right.
Right.
It's Black Mirror.
So I realized the other thing that this show has that's similar to Twilight Zone is that there is a deeper lesson to be learned. Whereas things like Tales from the Crypt or Tales from the Dark Side or The Outer Limits, those are all just spooky. Like, what's the lesson you can learn when you have a conjoined twin that pretends to be a puppet and also murders people? And then he manages to attach himself onto Bobcat.
I remember that episode.
Yeah. What do you do? What's the lesson to be learned there? That you shouldn't attach yourself to, that you shouldn't let Siamese twins attach themselves to you, that you shouldn't that you should just grind them up into paste. No, it was doing that to be scary. And then there was the Christmas episode, which, by the way, I found out the killer was the guy who voiced Pops from Johnny Bravo.
Spoilers, dude. God.
Oh yeah, Pops was the killer. Welcome to Pops. I missed that show.
Oh, God. So we do have some themes here. Like there's the very obvious one that there's this like people will just kind of rally behind anything, and if you get enough people together, they're just kind of an ignorant force.
Right.
You know, he was able to tap into the non-voting crowd.
Right.
And he was able to tap into the asshole crowd and get them all to vote for this Waldo guy, and then he eventually by the end of the episode, he winds up being prime minister, and essentially they wind up in a police state.
Waldo was actually the prime minister.
Yeah,
I thought that what's his name? So Monroe became the prime minister.
Monroe won the first round of elections.
Right.
He won the round. So he split the liberal vote because half the liberals are a bunch of hippies who don't want to be part of the system and are going to not vote. But he tapped into them, so he split the votes and let the conservatives win. But then they jump ahead where Waldo has become prime minister.
Okay.
And everything's gone. That's what the last scene of the episode.
I thought the last scene was just him becoming a product like Mickey Mouse.
Oh, he was already a product.
Well, like even more so.
And
he just sells out even
what are
more.
our politicians at this point but products? Like it's how can we look good? How can we sell them?
How can we make America great again?
How can we make it's
okay
with politicians? It's never
hopefully
with politicians. It's never the smart introvert who actually has some fresh ideas. It's always almost always the type A guy who's almost always a businessman or a lawyer before going into politics. There are no artists, there are no scientists.
There was a butcher once, Ulysses S. Grant.
Yeah.
But he was a general.
Right, so yeah, or military. So either you're military, you're a businessman, or you're in law. And those are almost the only fields that happen before you go into politics. And there's almost no diversity. And I listen to a lot of Star Talk. So once you're done with this podcast, go listen to that one. Of Neil deGrasse Tyson, and he very frequently laments the fact that there are no scientists in Congress.
Well, they're all in science. They're doing better things. That's as sad as that sounds.
No, that's true. No, it's absolutely true. Where the scientists don't want to have to deal with this shit, so they're all out doing science, and so all of it's a problem in a system. I'm going to get political for a minute here because we can't stop this now. Train's going. I feel like the problem with most systems, with most authority in general, is the people who want authority are not going to be the people who use it responsibly.
Right. So, and that's where so this kind of leads to that. So Waldo, I guess, becomes a
you have a literal puppet.
Yeah. A
literal puppet has become the prime minister. And it could be anyone but behind that, and people will rally behind it, and they don't think about it, because you can have, as much as we liberal types like to decry how much, the sheep and they're following their politics and whatever, they're just as bad. Like, I know there's been a long running joke to get Jon Stewart or Stephen Colbert to run for president, and they were a lot of liberals rallied behind these two men, and they never wanted the responsibility to begin with. They wanted to be the guys who tell jokes on a fake cable news show. They never wanted that responsibility to begin with, and it was unfair to put that burden on them.
Right. So, that's also playing into horseshoe theory when you say like as much as liberals hate to think about like sheeps and stuff, they are sheeps, like, or things like that. That sort of plays into horseshoe theory, which kind of freaks me out, but I kind of see it.
So for those listening who don't know horseshoe theory, do you want to break that down?
Sure. The further you go left, the more you resemble the right. The further you go right, the more you resemble the left. It's like a horseshoe. You instead of just a big bar that
it curls back in on itself?
Yeah, it curls back in on itself.
Okay.
And the two end up being very similar. For example, fascism is considered to be far radical left to an extreme degree, and communism is considered to be far radical right to an extreme degree. The two of them are very similar.
I think you've got that backwards.
Communism is far left?
Communism is far left, fascism is far right.
Well, either way, they both resemble each other a lot. They both require a big figurehead who tells them everything and spits fire and brimstone.
They need a demagogue in charge.
Yeah, Stalin and Hitler actually had a lot more in common than I'm sure most people would like to think.
No, people I can't.
Most of the people that follow them.
Right.
Most of the people that follow them would like to think. Sorry.
And then we got Mussolini, who is just a character in and of himself.
Right. And example, Stalin claimed he followed Lenin's laws. He followed Lenin's laws to a T, as he put it, but he, I believe, changed a lot and twisted them so that they would fit his ideologies. Hitler, I believe he claimed that he was always doing things with Germany in mind, the good of Germany in mind, but he was killing a bunch of his own people. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, in media theory, too, there's this idea called the spiral of silence, where if you feel like you're in the minority, even if you're not, you're less likely to speak out. And the more those opposing views have momentum, the less likely more people come to speak out. So it becomes this almost like this feedback loop, or I guess spiral, where because the majority, in some cases, or even the minority, where people who have an opposing viewpoint are not saying anything, the fact that nobody else is saying anything continues to keep them quiet. Does that make sense? Did I explain that well enough?
Yeah, so they're afraid to say anything because they know a lot of people will not agree with them.
Right. They don't want to talk about how you can't elect a puppet because they don't want to look uncool. They don't want to talk about how they disagree with something because they're worried that their opinion is not shared, and so they silence themselves.
Right. So, that's enough about politics, I think.
So
let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, there's not a ton to talk about. There's not a ton to talk about in the Wall to Wall.
The guy who voiced him ends up being homeless, which
it's all the symbol, like the symbolism's all fairly straightforward. The character arcs are fairly straightforward. Probably the weakest episode of the series. Not bad television, just weaker than a bunch of really, really well written and executed television.
Yeah, it's
the weaker link.
So, next one, should we talk about White Bear?
Well, yeah, I guess we'll just go in reverse order, and then we'll talk about Be Right Back, which is the 4th episode. You can watch them in any order, so it's not like it's not like we're throwing these things out of continuity. So, White Bear. I'm just gonna rely on the Wikipedia summary for this one. When Victoria wakes up in a chair to find she can't recall anything about her life, she quickly learns that she is in a world where almost everyone appears to be either a psychopath or a voyeur. However, as she joins in an attempt to free the people, she finds the truth to be far darker than she could have ever imagined. So
this episode's
a goddamn trip.
Yes. I was like, what kind of craziness could be the explanation behind this? And then when it finally came
And
up,
then the
I was
explanation,
like, what? Oh, come on!
but if
Then I
it's,
thought about it,
and then
I was
they
like,
and they actually show
it
you.
works.
So we'll get to the twist in a minute.
So
but we'll,
she wakes up
it's
in a chair, holding with like a bottle of pills.
she's got some pills and some booze. I try not to spend too much time bogged down on summary, but the way the episode is written, you know as much as the lead character does, where you come in and you know absolutely nothing, and you're learning everything as the main character does because the main character has amnesia, and it just follows them from the second they wake up to the end. So you learn everything as she learns them. It's very much about this journey that the lead character is on.
Right.
She wakes up, no memory. She wanders outside, and everyone's either inside or just like watching her from windows and refuses to tell her anything. Until she wanders on a gas station and she sees someone filling up. Jack's terrified when she sees her, but then a group of, I guess, hoodlums, let's say hoodlums, show up wearing animal masks, and they've got shotguns and electric knives, anything terrible you could use to just mutilate and just do terrible things to someone, descend on them, they attack them at the gas station, and the rest of the episode is a series of captures and escapes as she's trying to work out what's wrong with her and what else is going on, because we have the people chasing her, but then there's also a group of people just kind of, they seem brainwashed, where they follow her around with cell phones and they're trying to record every second of what's going on in this torture, and they refuse to help her.
Right. So, and she has a picture of her and a little girl
who we presume is her daughter.
Yeah. And she knows the words white bear, only that you should stay away from it. That's all she knows. And so she meets this girl who's like a wasteland warrior, and
the girl explains that essentially there's something fucked up with the radio signal, or like there's signals coming out of the cell phones or radio towers, something.
Yeah.
And it's made the vast majority of people into those zombies who just kind of follow around and record everything. And then the people that were left unaffected either were like her and they're just trying to get by, or they decided that it's open season, there's nothing to stop them now, there's no law, and they've just gone completely over the edge. They're killing, any nightmarish thing you can imagine, these people are doing it.
Right. And so they meet up with this guy who has a truck. She somehow seems to remember that he lives in a cabin in the woods, and then he ends up betraying them. It turns out he's also one of those animal mask guys, and decides to kill her and the
girl she's with.
The girl she's with. But the girl she's with, I believe, escapes, and they stop this guy, take the truck all the way to White Bear, which is this like station.
They go to the broadcast station, because I think if they can knock out the broadcast station, then they can make that area safe and they can turn the people back to normal. And they're about to pull it off when people are masking. One of them's got like an electric turkey carver.
Yeah.
That they're using to slice people up, and then there's the guy with the shotgun, and there's a couple more. I think one guy's just got like a welding mask and a crowbar.
Yeah. So, they're right there. All they need to do is just like flip a few switches and they're gonna do it. And then they show up, and then she finally grabs the shotgun, pulls it on him, shoots it, and boom, confetti.
And then the wall opens up, and there's a cheering crowd. She's then grabbed and bolted to this chair, and then she's forced to watch a video of what happened, what led up to this.
Yeah,
and she finds out
people she's with, the people in the masks, the Wasteland Warrior, they all walk up to the crowd and bow.
It turns out that this woman and her boyfriend had kidnapped a child, and then they had killed her and recorded it. And when they tortured her and recorded it. And then the only thing the thing with the child was she had her white teddy bear with her. Mm-hmm. So they were talking about look for the white teddy bear. So hence white bear theme. And so you find out that everything she went through was this elaborate sort of dystopian future amusement park where they put her through this nightmare over and over and over again, at least once or twice a day. They put her through this. And then all the people who were coming around to shoot the photos and the video, those are just civilians. They came to just take part in the punishment. They came to enjoy
they're tourists.
Yeah, they are. That's exactly it. They are absolutely they're tourists.
Same thing as, like, I want to go to National Yellowstone Park. Yellowstone National Park. I'm going to reserve some tickets or something for that. Same thing with White Bear. You reserve some tickets and go to White Bear to shoot a video of this woman going through this hellish nightmare.
And then, just to top it all off, they then parade her through the streets and and what is the thing?
A clear bubble.
Yeah, and they let people throw things at her and insult her, and it's terrifying. And then they take her back to the house where they basically drug her. They set it up so that her memory wipes, and then they're going to start the whole thing again tomorrow.
Yep.
And then the last few shots of the show are them. You find out everyone's just an actor.
Yeah.
So they're all sitting around. They're all just talking like, yeah, I think we have like 2 more minutes till they show up. So finish your coffee.
Yeah, and they also they're briefing the people.
Yeah, they brief the people saying, don't get too close.
If you do get too close, though, don't worry. We have tasers. We'll just fry her and...
Don't do it, though, because it means we'll have to reset the thing.
Yeah.
We'll have to reset.
So what it's
very much like Carnival Day Job type thing. It's like if you ever because you worked at Disneyland.
Disney World.
Disneyland
is in California. I went to Florida. And yeah, that was fun. You had to take part in the magic, though. You had to pretend it was real, but that was enjoyable. Come on. It's not.
Hey, these people could have enjoyed it. You don't know.
But we weren't hurting anyone. We were letting kids and adults alike join in on the magic. I saw adults get like excited and squee when they saw Darth Vader.
But so anyway,
and Boba Fett and Sam Wessel, and Jango Fett, I believe, was there as well. Anyways,
so anyway, it's just this idea that just how very quickly rational people can turn into a mob. It's a bit akin to the Waldo episode, and this idea that once you get enough people behind something, the individual nuance and idealism gets lost, and it's just the pitchfork carrying mob.
Right. But this lady did torture a little girl and film it, and apparently they both laughed about it. But it's just like, is there a good guy in this episode? This lady was terrible, the mob is terrible, everything is terrible.
That's the thing. That's the most depressing part of the episode, is everything is terrible, and you find out by the end, the world is not destroyed, the world is not messed up.
No.
At least not in like the technical sense. Everyone's still...
It's not Mad Max.
It's not the world is no longer Mad Max, and you think you should be relieved to find out that the world is not Mad Max, but you're actually, from a narrative perspective, more comfortable with the idea that there are heroes who can solve a problem and save people than you are with the idea of, here's an angry mob, here's what they can do, and they're completely unfettered.
And here is that lady you were rooting for. Here's what
the lady you were rooting for, she's a child killer.
Yeah.
And it just this reveal, and it completely rocks you to your core.
Yeah. The only thing that made me feel a little better is that guy that was like heading the whole thing, that explained to her everything wrong she did. He was the guy in the mask, and then he was the guy with the cabin.
Right, because you found out he played multiple roles. Right,
yes.
At first, he's the guy with the shotgun at the beginning. Then he's the guy who takes him out into the woods, and then he shows up at the end for the finale. He
was one of the best characters in this other show, British comedy show called Spaced. He was Tyres, who was a raver / courier. His day job was a courier, but he was a raider 24/7. This phone would start ringing, and then like coffee or tea, they'd be like starting tea. The dog would be scratching himself, and then he'd just like hear doom 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 dee 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 doom, and then he'd start like dancing around and raving, and then someone would pick up the phone and he'd be like, and he was just like one of the funniest characters. Like, I was just driving by and I stopped by because I remembered you owe me 20 quid. Oh, sorry, I don't have any money on me. Oh, by the way, I'm a little short on cash. Can I borrow 20 quid? Yeah, sure. You gotta see Space. Have you seen Space?
No, I'm mostly behind. My British television's mostly just been...
That's Edgar Wright's first, I think, directorial thing. And, he's the guy who did, let's see, Hot Fuzz, Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Yeah, I know this guy. All right.
Yeah.
I know what we're talking about.
Shaun of the Dead. And
Shaun of the Dead. Did the Cornetto trilogy.
Cornetto.
Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, and End of the World.
Oh, yeah.
They've been collectively called the Cornetto trilogy because at some point in every film, one character offers another one a Cornetto ice cream cone. And this was after the fact, because before it was just, these three movies are kind of connected, same director, same two lead actors. And then by the time they wrapped it up, they called it the Cornetto trilogy, because it's just in every episode someone offers another character an ice cream cone.
That's interesting. But yeah, they're in that as well.
Yeah, back to Black Mirror. And it's this terrifying... You find out that the dystopia you think you're in is actually far less terrifying than we're kind of already in. Because I know in China they actually have a thing they're called flesh and blood search engines. And what they are is they're a way of meting out justice. So if they find someone who's done something wrong on the web, On the Media on NPR talked about this. They're my favorite podcast ever. Also go watch On the Media, where they talked about this. And they found a woman in this town was like wearing high heels and crushing animals, like baby animals, and recording it. And of course this is terrifying. And then that got out on the web, and then they basically spread the image as far as they could until they physically tracked down this woman and the guy who filmed it. And God, I think they literally ran them out of their town. Like they ran them out of their homes.
Couldn't they just arrest her? I mean, it's animal cruelty.
From what I heard on the podcast episode, and from what I remember hearing on that, the local law enforcement kind of turns a blind eye to it because they realize this is keeping them busy.
Dang it.
Yeah.
How can we get better law enforcement?
So I will probably have to go fact check some of that, because this is what I remember from about 2 or 3 years ago listening to the story they did, but it really stayed with me. And people can be terrified, even when people are out for justice. The lengths they're willing to go to can be terrifying. Well, I know, even more recently we've had, the Ashley Madison hacks.
Oh, yeah.
Anonymous, was it Anonymous?
I believe so. Oh, well, was it Anonymous the ones that, said that... Oh, no, that was the KKK. Never mind.
But anyway,
yeah.
So anyway, Ashley Madison got hacked, and there are all these people, cheering, yay, those cheaters have been exposed. But for me, I could never be anything but terrified at the idea that there is a faceless group of internet morality police.
Yeah.
Who, at a whim, can just out someone and can just bring all this rage on upon somebody. Because people love to find a scapegoat. People love to be angry. They love to find a target for that anger.
Yeah, that's really scary for me. I'd like to think I'm a pacifist. I know you're a nihilist, which is don't cut off my Johnson, by the way. Anyone who's listening to this, that is a Lebowski joke. But I know you more prefer nihilism, and so because of that, you also don't feel like conflicts are really worth it.
Right. Also, my personal brand of nihilism, I haven't studied a lot of philosophy behind it,
right.
But this is just the closest word I've had for what I believe. Basically, that things have meanings which we ascribe to them. Okay. So once you realize that so much of what people build their lives around don't necessarily have objective meaning, they have subjective meaning, it's about building your life around the things which you have chosen have value.
Right. So, wow, this is a much
it's a
deeper...
It's a much more positive nihilism than I hear from a lot. It's not pessimism.
Right.
It's just that, you know what, things mean what they think. Cosmically, nothing we do counts, so let's find meaning in ways that in ways that are compatible for us. Yeah, let's create meaning.
So, this is a deeper episode than I thought we were going to do.
We were making dick jokes 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, we were. So, White Bear was the biggest Shyamalan.
I think it's the only episode with a real
twist ending.
Of the 6 main series episodes, I think it's the only one that has a real twist by the end, because there's a surprise at the end of the first one where they had the prime minister fuck a pig, and you find out it was just an artist.
Yeah.
He let the princess go, so he didn't have to do it, but we were all so glued to the screens we did it anyway. There was always like some, so they weren't like earth-shattering twists. They just didn't end in quite the way you would expect them to.
Right.
But this was the first one that completely upends everything you thought you knew and forces you to reevaluate everything you just saw. And it's so satisfying, and you actually get a lot more out of it knowing it on repeat viewing. Because I've watched this entire series all the way through about 3 times in the span of less than a year. Which is how much I love this show. And it's not saying too much beyond that, apart from this mob mentality, and it mostly is speaking to that. But it does such a good job of hammering home the nightmare of the justice mob, where if you get enough people together who think they're in the right, they can be every bit as terrifying, if not more so, than somebody who's doing something wrong. And I'm actually going to call this back to the comment I made about Trump earlier, where if you have one person doing something terrible, that's, it's not, that doesn't make what they're doing any better, but it's isolated to that person. So I can understand, this person, they've done a terrible thing, it's not excusable what they've done, but it's isolated to this person, at least for now. But when you have so many people band together for something like that, then it's a much deeper problem that it brings out, and that's the scary part.
Right.
That's scarier than anyone in a sheet mask with an electric carver.
Yeah, so, and that's where the episodes seem to be going. So, it fools you. It says, like, hey, the Black Mirror thing? Well, how it's all scary technology stuff? Well, we have some scary technology right here. And then they're like, kidding, just kidding. It's an even scarier technology than this.
Yeah, it's not the technology that's scary. It's the people. Like it's very
right.
It's
people reacting. To
you almost it's
what
I hadn't made this connection before until you brought it up. Where Black Mirror is usually people have technology, but their base instincts are all still there, and they're going to use the technology inappropriately. This one is you think it's technology used inappropriately, and then you find out there's almost the only tech at all is basically what they use to wipe your memory every day. Like everything else is just completely, purely human. And so there's no, I guess you can count the cell phones they used to record because the whole tourist mentality.
Right. And not only that, but she recorded. She and her husband recorded the torture of this little girl.
Right. So
on a phone camera thing.
So you have that, but it's this much more primal pack mentality.
Right.
And when it's one thing when you're part of it that you can't see, but looking at it from the outside is like that horrifies me.
Yeah.
Nothing, pack mentality horrifies me more than almost anything else I can think of.
This could also harken back to the monsters are due on Maple Street.
Yes, exactly. Where you get enough people together and you get them paranoid enough or angry enough, and it's just complete self-destruction.
Yeah, there's a novella I really want to read that's been adapted several times in different ways. It's called The Heart of Darkness. You know that?
Yeah, Heart of Darkness.
Yeah, it's about like this ivory company from Africa. They are based in Africa, and there's this one guy who's really good at his job, but all of a sudden he's started doing some crazy stuff, and they're like, "Hey, you narrator, go find this guy." And then he goes to find that guy, and then all of a sudden all these people start attacking him, and he gets like tormented and stuff. And he finds out like more about this guy, and it was adapted into Apocalypse Now. It was adapted into 2 video games recently, Far Cry 2 and Spec Ops: The Line.
Are those like direct adaptations, or are those just kind of spiritual successors?
There's not quite direct adaptations. They take the same tropes.
They're thematically similar.
Yes,
they share the same through line.
Right. Like the main character of Spec Ops: The Line, or no, the main antagonist his name is John Conrad. The guy who wrote Heart of Darkness is Joseph Conrad.
It's like in BioShock how the main villain was Andrew Ryan, which is an anagram of Ayn Rand or Ayn Rand.
Ayn Rand.
So this is me completely pulling this out of my ass right now. But what if White Bear is an answer to the type of thing we see on Mulberry Street,
or Maple Street?
Maple Street, I'm sorry. Where if people don't have a target, they just kind of lash out until they find one, but it's almost better for cohesion if you give them something to target.
Yeah.
It's almost like it's almost like a sacrificial lamb type thing, where yes, there's the paranoia that we can all tear ourselves apart, or you can give us something to all focus the hate on and tear that apart.
Yeah.
That you think there could be some subtext in that direction there? This is just me. This is not well thought out. This is just me coming up with this on the spot.
I think so. Yeah, Twilight Zone and Black Mirror both are true pieces of art. They're true works of art because they don't really have a straightforward answer on why this is so terrifying. They have like a lot of...
There's not even a solution.
Right.
It's not even just, this is terrifying. You think about that now, and then it leaves.
You have to really think about these things. But, tying Heart of Darkness back into this. My English teacher from senior of my high school told me about Heart of Darkness. We didn't read it, but like I said, she told me about it. She taught us about it. The reason why it's called Heart of Darkness is because she said basically that deep down within everyone, no matter how compassionate or kind you are, everyone has a little capacity for evil. Everyone has the opportunity to commit true atrocious acts, and all you need to do is just be pushed in that direction, which is what I believe the main character of Heart of Darkness was. He was tormented by Kurtz and all this other stuff because his entire crew was killed. He was just like being toyed with and stuff, and then all of a sudden he's kind of saw it from this guy's perspective.
So there's the idea that if we're pushed hard enough, we will do evil. But now, White Bear takes a different approach where we want to do these terrible things. We're just waiting for an okay to do so.
Right.
So it's not even that we don't want to do these things until we're pushed to do them. It plays this idea that there's an underlying desire to do this.
Right. So yeah, there is just that everyone has a heart of darkness. Mm-hmm. Everyone has a little bit. There's no one out there that can say with a straight face, I'm completely incapable of doing something evil. Because everyone is, no matter how much they want to admit it, everyone is capable of it. Oh, now, there's a lot of stuff. That being said, not everyone is like a murderer, rapist.
Right, there's a capacity there. But the most twisted part of it all is we're calling this action by the mob evil. They see it as justice.
Right.
They are punishing someone who's done something wrong. So to them, it's not even occurring to them that what they're doing is wrong because they're punishing someone else who's done something worse. Right. So that might be the scariest part of it. Between that, the Flesh and Blood search engines, the Ashley Madison hack, it's this idea that what you're doing, what they're doing is wrong. So obviously, what you're doing must be right. And it's not someone choosing evil, it's someone's morality being turned around. And that's so much more sinister than someone choosing to be evil.
Yeah, it is. And
we got to some serious, this is some heavy stuff. I really hope that anyone looking for something smart was able to get past the earlier like Street Fighter jokes and get to this point.
So, I guess let's talk about the last episode.
So there was that basically sum up everything with White Bear. That went some dark places.
Yeah. So, the next one would be...
Let's power through, I guess last episode we're talking about first episode of the final of the second season.
Is I'll be right back.
I'll be right back. We have the synopsis. When Martha's, Haley Atwell, her boyfriend Ash, Damal Gleason is killed on the day they move in together, she is consumed by grief and signs up for a service where she can speak to a virtual avatar of her partner based on his online communications. Martha grows to rely on this, then finds out there may be a way to bring Ash back in body. There we go.
So
I can read things.
Once again, this this starts off like Ash is going to their tiny little place, which he knew when he was a child. He like goes there listening to the Bee Gees, and she's like, "You like the Bee Gees?" He's like, "Yeah, I love the Bee Gees," and starts singing along and loves it. And then he goes back to their home and looks at this picture of when he was a kid and smiling, and she's like, "Oh, that's a funny picture." He said, "Really? You think it's funny? I find it depressing." I'm like, sorry.
Well, it's very clear he's glued to his phone.
Yeah.
For they're driving out. They have this new place that they're moving together in the country, and the guy can't get off his phone for more than 2 minutes.
Right.
He's in the phone all the way there. They get there. He's still on the phone. He's posting. He's sharing. And then usually you would expect the way this to go would they'd kill off the significant other, where he's like, "Oh no, I didn't pay enough attention to her. I was on my phone the whole time."
Yeah.
Which is the way that you usually expect to see this go. But they kill off the man who's played by one of the Weasley. Whoa.
Why
that
what?
That was a pop-up. I'm sorry. Well, I was looking up. I'll get to what I was looking up in a little bit because I want to save it for the end of the episode.
One of the Weasley twins.
Not one of the Weasley twins. One of the Weasley siblings. I think it was Fred. Not Fred. Fred's a twin. Bill. Bill.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, he's played by Weasley. So anyway, he passes on. He passes away. They don't explain exactly what happened. It just he leaves, and he doesn't come back.
Right.
So Haley Atwell, who played Agent Carter in Marvel, now she's playing Martha. Of course she's wrecked. Of course she's in a wreck because her boyfriend. I don't think they actually said if they were going to get married or not, but clearly someone she's very close with. He's gone.
Right.
And then she finds out that there's now a service that can go through and analyze all of his online profiles and synthesize his personality based on those.
Yeah, and she doesn't want to do it, but her friend forces her into it.
But she's talking to her, she breaks down and does it, and it starts with text, and then she finds out that she can upgrade and do voice. She can talk to him on the phone. Yeah. And then by the end of the episode, she finds out there's an experimental way where she can actually bring him back there's like a robot she can bring back that looks and acts like him. So it's that personality that she's been talking to, but now there's a body attached to it.
Yeah,
which is the base. That's all the real plot of the episode.
Right, and I was like fully expecting this to go Outer Limits, Tales from the Crypt route, and he becomes a murderer or something. He finds out she wants to shut him down, or she starts talking to some other guy, and he goes crazy and kills people. Because I was like, that's how all these robot things go. It didn't go that route. No one died. Well, aside from Ash.
Right. Well, because the part of he never stops caring about her, and he never does anything wrong. But by the time that she's brought him back, brought his body back, or at least replicated the body, she realizes that as close as he is, as this new boyfriend is, he's never going to be the same. Right. It's worse because she can't let go. But she can't let go of him. But what she has now is not the same.
So those two details I brought up earlier, the Bee Gees and the picture which he said was depressing, that's where the significance comes in, because there were a bunch of little secrets he had, a bunch of things she didn't know, and when he died, those secrets died with him. She would never know them, and it was things like that. So the way this robot learned and programmed is if he had to be told, like, that's not how Ash would act. He would act like this. And then he'd be like, oh, okay, from now on, I will act like this.
And it's very clear he wants to make her happy.
Right. He wants to be Ash.
That's all he knows how to be, is he wants to be this complete person so that he may be more fulfilling for this woman.
So, but when he sees this picture, he looks at it and says, oh, this is funny. And this bothers her because the real Ash didn't find it funny. He found it depressing because of some...
Right, because it was a family picture.
Yeah.
They moved into his family's old place, and there's a picture there where they looked like they were having fun, but he put the day in context.
Right.
and said it was depressing. But the Android doesn't have that, because as much as we put online, we're still going to keep some things to ourselves.
Right.
And one of the more interesting things, more subtle things to me that nobody else but me has picked up on, because I've talked about this episode with a few people, was how sinister the upsell is. Because when the friend brings the service to her and says, they can, if you just give them access to all the social media profiles, they can they can synthesize his personality in text. And then she gets messages in the text. She talks to him for a while via the chat. And then she says, I want to hear your voice. And then she says, well, you can. And there's a way for us to actually talk in person. Or I can talk over the phone. And it's this idea of, it's an upsell. Because when she gets the text to begin with, her friend specifically says it's a trial.
That's right, yeah.
So I can only imagine that getting to the voice, like actually being able to chat on the phone with somebody, that's an upsell. You have to give something for that. And so then when she is told that she can upgrade to the body, the voice also specifically says again, it isn't cheap.
Yeah, that's right.
And I just thought, oh my god, can you imagine a more twisted way to get money out of someone than letting them talk to their deceased loved ones? Says, well, you love them this much. Well, if you give us just a little bit more, then you can actually talk to them. And it's this most predatory sales I could ever conceive.
Well, I guess the reason why not many people picked up on it is because she didn't actually have money problems or anything. She seemed to be doing fine. She was like an artist or something.
She was an artist.
Yeah, so but she was never saying things like oh, I need to save up on money for this. I need whatever.
It's glossed over because I feel like if they had brought that in too much, it would have distracted from the message.
Right.
Which they did the right thing with that.
Right.
But they left enough there that we can still think about it later, and that was the perfect way to do it, I feel. And imagine, not only... This isn't some slimy salesman trying to sell you something. Your guard's not up. The person you love is gone, and now you found a way to speak to them again. And it's that voice that's telling you, you can bring me back even more. You just have to give this thing. You just have to pay this much more. That's almost a horror movie in and of itself.
Yeah.
Saying, imagine this ghost saying, if you want to bring me back, you have to sacrifice this. That's an entire horror film in and of itself. There's that setup.
That may have been done before. I'm trying to think.
It's probably been done somewhere before. We'll ask Goro next time we see him.
Okay. So, but yeah, this is a minor thing. The Bee Gees thing, he jumps in the car once and it starts playing a Bee Gees song and he's like, this is cheesy.
Yeah, the new one.
Yeah.
The new one is, he's very snarky. He's very dismissive because, of course, online we tend to be a bit more salty than we are in real life.
Yeah.
So we're only vocalizing something if we feel an extreme way about it. So, and a lot of times, because of the culture of the internet, it's very frequently a negative emotion. So the one they brought back was very dismissive.
Right. So, we didn't mention that she was pregnant, did we?
Getting to that. We find out about halfway through the episode that she was pregnant when he died.
Yeah.
And, of course, she brings the phone. She brings the phone with her when she goes for the ultrasound. And there's a bit where she actually drops the phone and it shatters. And she loses it. And, you see her rush out and buy a brand new phone. And the first thing she does is run home and she plugs it in. She has to load him back into it because she's just dependent on that voice now.
Right.
There's not even a person attached to it, but just she misses the person she loved so much that even having that piece of something to hold on to is worth clinging to. That's her support system.
Right. And then I do think it's sinister, but another thing is a lot of this stuff is kind of her fault. She says, okay, I'm gonna have a little bit of wine tonight, and the doctor said it's okay, so just don't tell me otherwise. And then the next day she's like, you should stop me next time I try doing that. That's what the real Ash would have done. I was like, you should have said that earlier, when you were sober, before you drank the wine.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? It just seems can you imagine just being in that place where you've lost the person you love more than anyone else? They've left a person inside of you.
Yeah.
And you now live in the country. You're your sole provider, and your only support system is an amalgamation of the person you lost.
Right.
That's, you know what? She gets a free pass for pretty much anything in this episode, as far as I'm concerned.
True.
It's just that, because the thing is, like, I can imagine, because when we're in a place where it's like, I'm gonna have some wine, it's okay. We almost want to be self-destructive.
Right.
And it's where it's that, I'm sure we've all been there, where we're saying we're going to do a bad thing because we want someone else to care enough to stop us.
Yeah, yeah. I've been in there before, true.
We've all been at a point where we may or may not really want to do the reckless thing, but we want someone to care enough to tell us not to.
Right. So, the other thing she does, this is like the climax, is she gets fed up with him, then they go to a cliff, and she tells him to jump off. He's like, oh, you want me to jump off? Oh, okay then. She said, no, that's not what Ash would say.
No, he'd fight to live.
And then all of a sudden he started crying. He said, no, I want to live.
Just because...
Because you told him to.
I may have mentioned on the show before, something called the Uncanny Valley, where the closer to human something gets, the more prevalent the flaws become.
Yeah.
Usually it's applied to visuals.
Yeah, like the Sonic spin-off thing that Ken Penders is doing. That is... Sorry, I'm not going to talk about Sonic. I'm sorry.
You know what? Oh god, there we go. That breaks the tension. You brought up Sonic and the tension has been broken.
There's a weirdo named Ken Penders who used to work on the Sonic comic, and now he's doing some weird, creepy-ass 3D art.
Speaking of which, did you read the Sonic comic I got you for Christmas?
Yes.
We'll talk about that later. That'll be an episode. Wait.
Okay.
We'll do it. Black Mirror. Serious things.
Right.
The internet needs to take us seriously by knowing we watch the most depressing shit imaginable.
So, what she ends up doing is she screams, that's not fair! And I was thinking, like, it's completely fair. He told you straight up, I will only do the things you told me to do. And she told him to do that.
But it's just, you can see him, like, I love this person. I can see him here. It has his voice. It says most of the same things he does, but it's not him. And and she loves, she can't get rid of him though. So we find out she has the kid. They jump ahead to like 5 years later, and they find out she keeps him in the attic, and the little girl goes to see him on her birthday.
Right.
And can I go see Daddy?
Or does she actually call him Daddy, or does she call him Ash?
I'm not
she
sure.
seems to treat him more like an imaginary friend.
She does treat him a lot like he's the strange man who lives in her attic.
Yeah. And he's super friendly, super sweet to her. Like she said, I brought up 2 slices of cake, but I know you don't actually eat cake. I just did it so I could eat 2 pieces.
It's like, I know, I promise I won't tell. That's devious, but I promise I won't tell. And it's just, oh my god, and it's all just so heartbreaking because you can feel that Haley Atwell's character is just so close to getting what she wants, but she can never have it, and because that piece is still there, she can never let go of it. She's holding on to it. It's in her attic,
right?
So it's not like how do you move on? Because like if he had just died, and she could have grieved and moved on.
She could have gone through the 5 stages: denial, anger, grief,
denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance.
Yeah. Wait, depression is the 4th one?
Yes.
I'm trying to remember this in context of Majora's Mask.
I got the Majora's Mask remake for Christmas. I've been playing through it because it's my all-time favorite video game. We'll do a Majora's Mask episode sometime. We're just gonna keep kicking more episodes down the road. Yeah. That's how I remember the 4 stages, or the 5 stages of grief is the way they play out Majora's Mask.
First one, denial. That's Clock Tower.
Denial is Clock Town. Anger is the Deku King in the swamp. Bargaining is Darmony trying to get his life back so he can defend his people. Depression is Lulu in the Great Bay, who's lost her children and can no longer speak. And then acceptance is Akana, where everyone's a ghost and they're all just kind of cool with it.
Yeah, and then suddenly you talk to that one giant skeleton lord. I liked that guy.
Skullkita?
Yeah, like he was the general or whatever.
And he was also a giant. I don't know how that worked, but he was a giant.
Yeah, and then you like kicked his ass, and then he gave you his captain's hat, and he was like, you know what? Just tell everyone in my army the war's over. it can all go home. Then you do that, and they're all like, oh, okay.
Whereas there's this. He gives the rank to your character.
Yeah.
As you're playing through, and then to Link, and then there's a point where they pause and they stare at each other for a little bit, and he says permission to be excused, and then there's just a few seconds where the camera kind of goes back and forth between the two, and it's stone silent, and then just Link does a salute, and then the skeleton returns and just crumbles.
That is such a great game. It's a beautiful game.
It is. Oh my god. We'll talk about that's. I love that game so much that I could honestly, if we get talking Majora's Mask, I could literally fill up hours.
Yeah, it's the Final Fantasy IX to Ocarina of Time's Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah. So I think we're getting close to wrapping up almost everything we need to say about the Black Mirror episode. This idea that clinging to something is not healthy. Sometimes maybe just getting rid of something entirely means you can move on. Because you can't move on if you're still holding on. And you want to hold on to that, because obviously it meant something to you. So you're going to try to hold on to it, but eventually you have to realize that there's nothing... It's not there. It's not going to be the thing you want it to be.
Right. So, that's where we leave off, I guess. Right? I don't really have anything else.
I think that rounds up everything pretty nicely. Now there is, as of recording... They just dropped the Christmas special with John Hamm, which I have seen, but you have not seen, and it is absolutely worth talking about. They
have quite a few actors on here that have actually been in some big stuff. John Hamm, what's her name? Haley Atwell.
John Hamm, also yet another thing. Someone just needs to make a list of all the shit we promise we're going to make episodes of, but they never do. John Hamm was in a mini-series with Daniel Radcliffe. He was in a mini-series with Harry Potter called The Young Doctor's Notebook.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely wonderful and needs to be watched by everyone. It's a dark comedy about a doctor in revolutionary-era Russia.
That sounds really cool.
It is spectacular. Have you seen it?
I have not. I've seen previews of it.
Yeah, you need to watch it. All right, so I think that wraps up 2 seasons of Black Mirror.
But yeah, the guy that was in the Brief History of You or whatever, the guy with the memory thing, that main character ended up being Doctor Doom. He was all right in the Fantastic Four movie, but being all right in a movie that's terrible is pretty good.
It's like it's like being the opposite of being the worst episode of a really good series.
Yeah.
So there we go. That wraps up the 2 seasons of Black Mirror, and now I was really excited. Netflix has picked up the series.
Yeah.
They ordered 12 or 18 more episodes.
Yeah, so they're going to Americanize it.
I really hope they just leave the creators be.
Yeah.
Because, you know what, I'm going to say, because we compared to Twilight Zone a lot, for damn good reason. But I'm actually going to give an edge, side by side, I'm going to give the edge to Black Mirror.
Really?
And I will explain why. Because we have the Twilight Zone episodes, we have some spectacular episodes. Some episodes that make us think, some episodes that still resonate with us 50 years later.
Right.
But there's also a lot of goofy stuff. There's some goofy stuff, there's some fluff.
It's a cookbook!
It's a cookbook!
Why was he bringing a cookbook to the UN?
To serve man! It's a cookbook! Oh, and which I love the goofy stuff. Everyone who knows me knows I love the goofy stuff.
And William Shatner got it started in it.
And William Shatner did 2 episodes, actually.
Yeah.
And there's some really good shows, but the thing is, keep in mind that there were tons of... It ran for years and years, and each season has, I think, 20-some episodes.
Right.
Whereas Black Mirror, it's only 6 episodes, but what they have are all really good. So if we're talking overall impact, Twilight Zone's better, but if we're talking basically
less is more.
Less is more, where it's like compare them pound for pound.
Right.
So if you were to compare 6 episodes of Black Mirror, just how good they are all the way through, with the average of how good the Twilight Zones are, because once again you have the really good ones, but there are some that don't measure. There's some that don't measure up. And of course, when you're making, I want to say there's got to be at least 100 episodes of that show. Not everyone's going to be a solid. Yeah. Not everyone's going to hit. That's just averages, and I think no less of them for it. But once again, I might actually have to give the edge to Black Mirror, because it also goes that little bit more. It's able to go darker places than Twilight Zone was able to.
I would say I like Twilight Zone more because Rod Sterling's narrations.
Rod Sterling is wonderful.
Buttery.
I don't dislike Twilight Zone. I love Twilight Zone. I'm putting it in like a top 5 all-time favorite shows. It's like Twilight Zone. Right off the top of my head, it's like Twilight Zone, Black Mirror. I'm just looking at my DVD shelf because I know this changes week to week which my favorite shows are.
Yeah.
Like all-time favorite shows. I'm gonna put Futurama up there.
Gurren Lagann?
Maybe Gurren Lagann. You know what? Rating is stupid, people. You have room in your heart for many things, and don't feel the need to limit yourselves for the sake of objective numbered list. Your opinions are not objective. You can feel whatever you want to feel. There can be room in your heart for many things.
So, yeah.
So I think that's a good place to leave Black Mirror for now.
Yeah. All right.
So you think if we die, and then, oh shit, no, this is the thing I was looking up, and I almost forgot about it. It turns out that whole, like, we'll make the amalgamation of your personality thing, that technology is already in the works.
Yeah, I think I may have heard of that.
Yeah, that's another on the media where that's how I found out about Black Mirror, is they were talking about how this episode came out, and there's also this technology exists. We have it. We can't make a human we can't make a robot that looks like you.
Made out of marshmallows.
But we have the technology where we can synthesize someone's personality based on their posts. But it can never be right, because I know, and I mentioned like you're going to be more sarcastic online, but one throwaway line that they had, which I really enjoyed, was that they said the robot was better looking when he was still alive, because we only post the flattering pictures of ourselves.
Oh, that's right.
So the version that they make of him looks a little bit better than the original, because they have that more, because they are only posting the most flattering shots of them. Which is a really, really clever little observation. Yeah, so this technology exists. We can do this. And the writers, when they were interviewed, they did not know about it when they were writing the episode. Yeah. They had no idea.
The same goes for the pig sex thing.
That was the less said about the pig sex thing, the better. There's no good that can come of that. Yeah. And you know what? You think if either of us pass away, they'll load up the podcasts and they'll try to make a little synthetic Nomad and Kyber.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I don't know if, like, I'm really important enough to them to be like, we need this guy back.
This guy back.
And then, like, they would only know me from this podcast. I do another podcast. I don't know if I should name drop it yet.
Oh, is it like there's another project you're working on?
Yeah, well, it's for one of my friends, two of my friends own a company, and they have a podcast attached to it. We mostly talk about D&D and crap like that. So,
you know what? Name drop it on here. We'll get some cross promotion going on.
Okay.
And you know what? I've never played D&D, so I would be happy to come and play D&D with you guys.
Oh, that sounds
to cross promote for all of our literal single listener for Ivy.
Yeah, it's Tower Wizard LLC.
Okay. So yeah, we'll get some cross pollination going on there. Yeah. We'll synergize. I don't know. I'm corporate speaking right now. There we go. I fucking needed this after that. That discussion got heavy.
Yeah.
And it's only gonna get heavier next time when we do the Christmas special.
Yeah. Okay. I have not seen the Christmas special, but I'm only expecting very spooky things to happen. Not as spooky as Krampus, because Krampus you can't be. No, I'm just kidding.
Krampus.
Yes, Krampus is the best. That is such a good movie. Like, and when I saw the practical effects, them making those things, I only had more appreciation.
I've come to the conclusion that you and I are the only people who like Krampus, because I of course had to do the obligatory visits to family across all the different family people across the holidays. Like my siblings especially were like, that movie looked dumb, or my friends said they didn't like that movie. It was dumb.
My sister saw that movie. She was expecting a straight up horror movie like Black Christmas or Silent Night, Deadly Night, I believe. She watches a lot of horror movies, mostly Asian horror movies, because I make her watch those. I know she likes them.
Like to watch like Ringu and
Ringu. She saw One Missed Call before it was remade for America. She watched a few Takashi Miike movies. I can't remember which ones. I think Audition.
Okay. All right. Well, we're at about a minute we're about a minute away from the hour and a half mark. Okay. So I think
she hated it. So
yeah. So just in summation, Black Mirror is some of the best written television on the planet, but it'll make you die a little bit on the inside. Don't bring us back. Don't use the podcast to bring us back.
Yeah.
and everybody hates Krampus but us.
Yes.
Does that sum everything up?
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll see you for the Christmas special.
All right. Bye, guys.